That's pretty much it. So, I mean, how to practice them. I mean, you know how to practice trade. Like, what more can I really say about, well, you practice trading, you practice your warding and stuff, right? Because, I mean, to sit here, we could go over every single one for hours on end. We could spend 10 hours talking about trading, 10 hours talking about warding. Even more than that, obviously. You know, and then how do you practice this? I think it's self-explanatory to a certain degree on how you practice it. And I think it's just, do you actually have the discipline to keep doing it, and do you find enjoyment in doing it? I think one thing that a lot of people end up having, if you were watching the coaching session before this one, there was that guy that he's been playing less than a year. He's been playing apparently 11 months or something, and he's already Diamond 5, and he's still climbing. And it's his first ever MOBA game and whatever. And he doesn't have the issue that a lot of players end up having, which is they get bored of only playing one champion. You know, his match history, he played Trundle like 8 games in a row, because he finds enjoyment in his refinement and the improving of, you know, his fundamentals and everything else going on. So he doesn't find enjoyment in this. When you start finding more enjoyment in this than you find in this is when you become a bad player. Okay? When you start thinking that these things override this, you're terrible. And if you think that at the pro level, this overrides this, no, you're just... Maybe in a best of 1 it does, but it doesn't in a best of 3 or a best of 5. In most cases. Okay? And so that's pretty much it for that. How to view, analyze matchups. Apto, TF versus Fid Guy, Fizz Guide, level 2 rush, and bounce freeze.
So what I mean from that question is, like I watched that Apto TF versus Fizz Guide, and it gave so much insight on how he views the lane and how his matchup should be played. So far, like, it changed the way that I view the way I play my lane, because I go for the, like, I push really hard and go for the level 2 and try and do something level 2, but that doesn't exactly work in every champion and every matchup. So when I'm faced with a matchup that I'm not too accustomed to, how exactly can I, like, know when I'm stronger, when I should, like, well, analyze it, I guess.
Well, okay, so first off, let me stop you somewhere right now. What do you think the stuff that you're talking about right now falls into? In some ways.
It's gonna fall into the non,
exactly. And so because you're so concerned with it, you're gonna end up going in a circle. Because that's what these things do, is they go in a circle because they are relative to the patch. And they're relative to other champions that aren't necessarily your own. So because of that, you list the Apto TF versus Fizz Guide. The Apto TF versus Fizz Guide, see, the problem with guides, and I mean, it's not like I wouldn't ever make guides either, is that people, they take guides too literally. Now, unless the guide is an extremely detailed guide, which I don't know how long Apto's TF versus Fizz thing was, but I think it was only an hour or something, right? In which case, it's not detailed enough. Because I bet if you sat Apto down and you gave him $10,000, he would spend, you know, 3 days talking about Twisted Fate versus Fizz. You know, if you actually drilled him and you got past all of his generic answers and you prod, you know, whatever, you poke and prod to get out the more detailed answers. So because of that, guides should not be followed literally. So when you approach a lane and you have a literal approach to it, not a theoretical one or a guideline, then you're going to end up finding yourself having issues like what you're having. So if you're also asking about, you know, trading and whatever, I mean, that's just done by, I mean, there's 2 ways. Either, you know, very good memory retention or, you know, just playing a lot. I think are the only 2. It's, well, of course it comes into muscle memory in some areas, but not all. But yeah. Does that make sense? Like if you play, let's say that you play Fizz versus Ahri, okay, 100 times over. when you start at, you know, time 1, you're gonna have a perception of, or you're gonna have a theory of what you should be doing. In game 2, you're gonna adjust, okay, because of, of whatever happened in game 1. So here's what's gonna happen. Is you're gonna go in, okay, Fizz vs Ari. Alright. And game 1, you're gonna get smashed, okay? So game 1's gonna be really bad. Game 2, you're gonna get beat again, but some areas are gonna be a little bit more refined. Game 3, you might even get an edge at some points, you know what I mean, that you weren't picking up on in game 2 and game 3, and so you lose. Game 4, the Ari realizes the edge that you gained in game 3, and then she adjusts, and then you go for it again, and then you fail, and then it ends up failing, and then you don't know why. Game 5, you try again, because what ends up happening is you chalk it up to variance, you get beat again. Game 6, you adjust. It resets, it becomes much more balanced. Game 7, now mind games start getting involved. Okay, now you start wondering that you know that on step 3, you discovered something that became beneficial, and on step 4, she read into it and was able to nullify you for step 4 and step 5. And then on step 6, it became normal again, so on step 7, you're going to use step 3 because you don't think that she anticipates that you're thinking on step 3, and thus step 4 and 5 will not be relevant to the match. Okay, this is the leveling process. Okay, this happens at the professional level, you know, it happens, there's a lot of things that go into leveling. Now, this also contains range, which is something that I'm gonna do a video on, because when I say it, you have a bunch of idiots that think that I mean, like, distance, and that's not what I mean. Range is what a person is capable of, and I steal the term from poker, because it's used to calculate and judge what the person is able to throw at you, or, you know, what they can do in any given moment. So, let's say that, you know, Fizz is standing here and Ari is standing here. Okay, you know that if you throw your ultimate, here, okay, most Aris, and I'm gonna say, you know, now, if the range is only 500, okay, distance between the two of you, you know, units, whatever, okay, you know that on 90% of Aris, this ultimate will connect, okay? So now there's a range of Aris. So 90 through 1, okay, so it's like a, you know, a range thing. 90 through 1, the ultimate will connect, so that's a check mark. On 91, there is a chance that the Ari will begin to juke and respond with Q. On 92, there's a chance that Ari will juke and respond with R into Q into W. On 93, there's a chance that Ari jukes right, which you don't anticipate. So you have to judge what is this player capable of, okay? And then, eventually, when you get to the sweet spot, okay, and you determine that, okay, he's capable of 92, but he's not capable of 93 because, you know, the habits of this player, whatever, okay? So because of that, you know that if I throw this here, he will probably move left and then throw a Q, which means that you can anticipate that. And then you can use your E accordingly and whatever. This is where the Mad Life hooks and stuff come in, is range, right? Now, all of this shit, okay, now I'm answering your question, right, does not matter for you. Okay? And I'm showing you why it doesn't matter, is because this is shit that you don't need to worry yourself with. This is when you start getting up into much, much higher MMRs. Like, this type of stuff becomes relevant. Is, you know, calculating range, calculating the range of the opponent, not just the range of the opponent on that champion, you know what I mean? Like, knowing what they're capable of. And then you can get into a leveling game where you can be a level fucking a 7 Fizz, and you can be up against a level 13 Ari, but this Ari can't put you on a range, and so you keep beating her even though you're a worse player. And that happens a lot. In solo queue, you know, sometimes you'll hear professional players talk about someone that they hate fucking playing against, or they hate playing against a certain champion. So it doesn't matter how much better of a player they are, they cannot read the range of that opponent, or the range of that champion, and so they end up, fucking falling off. Is this getting through to you, by the way? Because I know this is...
Yeah, I'm understanding what you mean.
Okay. Alright, I'm good.
Like, the level 13 can't,
Not actually level 13. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like I'm using like Pokemon levels. Okay, good.
It's like the I don't remember what the exact text is, but that you can't. I think it was the chess champions that you can't exactly know what a lower level player will do, like and predict and play accordingly.
Yes. There's that quote, right, about the swordsman.
Yeah, I don't remember it right now, but yes, that thing.
You know the swordsman quote thing, right?
Oh yeah, the swordsman. That's it.
Okay. What is it? The best swordsman of the world is more afraid of the person that's never picked up a sword than the second best swordsman in the world. So if you have the best swordsman in the world, okay, so this guy is, you know, the best swordsman, okay. So this guy's the best swordsman. He is more afraid of the person that's never held a sword than the second best, because the second best, the best swordsman can judge his range. You know what I mean? He knows what he's capable of. He knows what he can do. He knows that he can play a leveling game with him. You know what I mean? But this guy cannot fucking read Prototype. It's not possible. You know? You just cannot get into the mind of that. And so because of that, it's very dangerous because that person's very volatile. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. So anyways, I just wanted to go over all of this to show you why this type of stuff does not matter at this point in time. Okay, until your fundamentals are a lot more sound, it doesn't matter about analyzing it. Now, if you're talking about analyzing it outside of the game, so that you can get a better understanding of it, and not for your own personal reasons, and this is what I'm talking about, like analysis and coaching and, you know, whatever, because I feel like this question can be approached in two ways. One for self-gain and, you know, in terms of gameplay, and then one for self-gain in terms of analytical type stuff. I think the issue with that is that it's better to have group discussions. I think Thorin just came out with a video on it about coaches or something, and he talks about some concepts in the first like 5 minutes about coaches, and, you know, where does their knowledge come from, and where does, you know, blah blah blah. And I think that would answer a lot about this, that, you know, save both of us a lot of time and allow me to go into depth on more topics. So you could just watch that. I think the video literally came out yesterday.
All right,
So
look into it.
yeah. Lane psychology. How to analyze opponent lane movements and predict them, identify and create opportunities. This is the same thing. So the one thing I'm gonna tell you is to not go and look at replays and try to do all this, okay? Because right now you're not capable of it, right? And then you have a bunch of people that are like, well, how do I get capable of it? Well, first, build up your fundamentals, you know, before you start looking at trying to take on stuff like this, right? So rather than wondering how to analyze the opponent's lane movements, get so good yourself that you can play on autopilot. Because when you begin playing on autopilot, it's a lot easier to look at your opponent. You know? But right now, I know that you're not on autopilot. Most players aren't on autopilot. You know?
Okay. Yeah, I think the main issue I have during my laning phases is, well, when I play lower elo players versus when I play higher elo players, I don't really know differences in my own play. Like, I just do stuff and lower elo players get beat, and I'm not sure exactly why. I don't know exactly when to trade, like how, when does a trade go in my favor and why?
Well,
that's kind of what I don't know how to recognize. And I guess trading, since you said trading was one of the fundamentals, I'm kind of asking how exactly do you trade then?
Okay, so here, I'm trying to have, I mean, this is going to be difficult without like a clip or anything, right? So, if you go onto a bridge, okay, and you jump off the bridge, and you fall into the water and it hurts, okay, now, this isn't real life, so you get another chance, okay? So you go up to the bridge again. You already know what the end result is going to be if you jump off the bridge. And I don't think it takes much effort to know that jumping off the bridge was a bad choice because right. Well, it's not just that. It's that nothing was accomplished. You determine that there's nothing to do, right? So you just don't jump off the bridge. Now I get what you're saying in that you don't know why or you can't see why, but that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you punch someone in the stomach and they do or they don't show a response to the pain, you can know what just happened, right? Like, if you hit someone and they lean over and they're holding their stomach and they look like they're gonna puke, obviously you know that you did something good, right? Like, not necessarily good, you know what I mean? But if you hit them and it feels like you're hitting a fucking wall and they just look at you like they're about to bend you over, probably wasn't a good choice.
Okay.
It's just reverse engineering.
So again, it comes down to.
It comes down to game experience, but
repeating, yeah.
I mean, I don't personally believe in. I mean, I don't see how you could approach someone, throw a Q at them as Annie, and then look at their HP bar and be like, that was or that wasn't a good choice after 100 games.
I mean, like whenever, what I mean is that, let's say for example I'm playing Victor. It's something that I play a lot. Whenever I play lower elo players, like I'll just randomly throw a laser to the minion wave. I want to clear the wave and push it out, and they get hit by it.
Okay.
I
Do you
wasn't
ever think
exactly
about
aiming
throwing?
for them. I don't think about aiming at them exactly, but like I don't know exactly how to explain it.
No, I get what you're saying. So you went to hit the wave, but then it also hit them. Okay. You don't think to yourself, well, how can I improve? So, okay, so if I ask you right now to go run, right, like outside, okay, and I want you to run 100 meters, okay, and you run 100 meters in fucking, I don't know, like, let's say, fuck, Jesus Christ. Maybe I shouldn't use track as a... No, okay, alright, here, we're just gonna... Alright, so I'm gonna ask you to drive to the market, okay? So you're gonna drive to the market, and you take your standard route, okay, to the market, and you arrive at the market in 5 minutes. Okay, now I want you to find a way to arrive to the market in 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Well, you're like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to come to... You know, maybe I can come to a rolling stop here, or maybe I don't even need to stop because there's no stop sign, so I can just take a switch. You know what I mean? Like, you start thinking of ways that you can improve your route, and then maybe you even open up a fucking map, okay, and you determine that, oh, well, there's another way that goes there, you know, and it just takes some back roads. This is all that you need to do. So don't you ever look at the lane and be like, okay, I want these minions, but what else can I get? Or do you just not think about that? Because if you don't think about that, that's a problem in itself. Because I just don't understand how you can play 100 games with Victor and you don't start looking and questioning like what you're doing.
I guess I do it, but not exact. Like I don't think exactly about it.
Alright. Well. I mean, I don't. But you would. That's not difficult.
Like I know that if they try and hit me, I can Q and get a shield, and I'll win the trade that way. Like I'm just using Victor as an example because I play Victor often. But if then I pick another champion, I don't know exactly how to find those trade opportunities. I don't know.
Okay, wait.
They won't survive.
Okay. Well, this is not an AoE mage. Wait, let me find an AoE mage.
Don't cross me.
There has to be like a Victor in here. Well, I mean, there's Ika. I want Victor, actually. There is a Victor. Okay. Alright, so here's a Victor. Okay.
Let's finish this quickly.
So okay, here he is. Right? You can see this? Okay,
Yes.
so in full screen... Here, actually, I'm just gonna take a screenshot of it.
An enemy
This would
has
probably
been
be...
slain.
Okay, well that is the opposite, because I don't want to... Fuck me. Whatever, I'll just recopy paste your question. Okay, so here it is. Okay, and you're Victor. Okay. So, what are you thinking right now? You wanna E the wave, or do you wanna auto attack, etc.? But let's say that you're Victor and you wanna hit that CS. You can say to yourself, well, I can hit it from here, or I can click here and then I can hit it from here. But if I click from here, obviously he's gonna be standing here or anywhere within here, which leaves me susceptible. So then, through this, you can determine that this isn't a more optimal click, right? And now, when you're here, maybe then you start to wonder to yourself, is there something else I could be doing? You know what I mean? Well, maybe when you move to here, Azir moves into here, or Azir moves, you know, I don't know, to here or something. Well, now you're like, actually, I can move up to here, and then I can send a laser. You know what I mean? And the AoE will hit that minion. It'll soften these minions. So this is just refinement, and I don't get why this... You could tell this to yourself. Do you know what I mean? This is all that you do. But it's you play a lot of games, and you come to you come to develop habits and patterns, and you know you realize how to come about refining something.
I realize that. I just don't think I do it. Like, I'm not exactly thinking about all of that throughout my laning phase, I don't think.
How low elo are you? Because it sounds like
I'm
low
platinum.
silver. What? I mean, well. I mean, okay, if that's the case, then you have one of two options. You either go on a really low elo account, and you start thinking while you do it. Well, I guess you have three options. You can either do the low elo account, you can do 1v1s against friends, or you can have someone sit there with you and coach you. Because this falls into the talent thing that I talk about. If your brain isn't approaching the game like this, if you're literally just playing off of feel and coincidence and, you know, like random stuff, you know, like a fighting game simulator after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games, then I don't know how to just make it appear. Do you know what I mean? I don't personally believe that it can just appear. I think if you've invested a lot of time in it, it won't just appear. Now, you can do things to begin to make it appear, and maybe you can have an epiphany and it will appear. You know, maybe something will click and then you'll start looking at the game in different ways. But I think that the only chance that you're going to have of finding that is via one of the three things that I just mentioned. I don't think that there's a magical way to just make your brain suddenly start, you know, slowing down the game and start wondering about other stuff. On top of that, how much do you play League?
A lot. Well, what's a lot? It's,
Yeah, what's a lot?
like lately, the past maybe 2-3 months, I've pretty much played it all day whenever I'm free, which is about, let's say, 8 hours.
8 hours a day. And what are you doing when you're in the game? Are you just having fun, or are you thinking about what you're doing?
A little bit of both, I guess.
Well, it shouldn't be both. It should be one of the other. Like, you shouldn't be playing games to just have fun. I mean,
Yeah,
you should, but
I mean, I want to have fun, but at the same time, I do want to improve and win. Yeah.
Well, do you actually want to improve, or do you like the idea of improving? Because see, the idea of having fun and then also improving, I don't personally believe that they go hand in
No,
hand.
for example, like every single time I start playing, I'll take maybe the first hour, I'll take a while to just CS, I'll sit in a custom game, I'll just sit there and CS. I don't think that's very fun, but I still do it.
Okay. Alright. Well,
Your turret has been destroyed.
I don't know. Well,
I just don't know how exactly, like, I think I do a lot of things in my lane subconsciously. Like, I know, like, I'll be looking at the opponent and I'll see, okay, I have to dodge this, and then I'll walk to the side, try and shoot, whatever. Meanwhile, I'm not exactly thinking, okay, this is this, and I'm just all in right now.
and you don't play enough games to where it goes into your subconscious?
I'm not sure.
I mean, if Ari throws a Q, you can't then, within 2 seconds, be moving your champion.
If I throws a Q, for example, and if I dodge it to the side, and I'll laser her, Q her, whatever.
Yeah, but you can't think that within 2 seconds, you know, sometimes if you watch a high-level player stream or something, sometimes you'll see them die to something like, okay, like they 1v1 Tryndamere because they don't think that he has his ultimate. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, he doesn't have ult here. But they weren't paying attention to the time, and he does have ultimate, and they die. But they died because they were aware that there's a chance Tryndamere doesn't have his ultimate, but they were incorrect in their guess on when it was coming up. You know what I mean? So if Ari throws her Q, so this is the problem that sounds like you're having, okay? Ari throws her Q at you, you dodge it, and then you laser her, and that's it. The thought process ends there. But it should be, I lasered her, her Q is still on cooldown for 6 seconds. What can I keep doing? Right?
Okay, I guess I just don't look too far ahead.
Only fools
To...
pledge life.
But you need to. So again, it comes down to the one of three things. Either get a free coach to sit there with you for every single one of your games, okay? Or go on a bronze account where, I mean, then you just have to resist the fun and just, you know, killing people over and over. And you wonder if you queued up with their bots. Wait, what was the fucking... So you get the, okay, yeah, free coach, the bronze, or, you know, you play a lot and you start telling yourself to do stuff. Alternatively, you can also, you don't even necessarily need a free coach, you can have a friend, but also play 1v1. And then maybe sit on Skype with your friend and talk about what you guys are doing. Obviously, though, that's eventually going to run in circles because, you know, like, you need to be pushed against players that are better than you, you know, gradually.
Yeah, okay. I guess I can try and, like, talk to myself and say what I think I should do in certain situations. Kind of like a streamer
Let's
does.
finish this quickly.
I think do first, think later is better for where you're at right now.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Oh, fuck. Alright, solo queue versus rank 5s. Just play solo queue, there's no reason to play rank 5s. And
The thing is, a lot of those other questions are gonna be pertaining ranked 5s.
oh,
Because, well, I'm in a team, we just finished season 1 of this tournament, and season 2 is about to start.
I think playing in, I'm of the firm belief that playing in teams, if you're a low LO, is bad. I don't think it's good. It's a different game. Fives in solo queue, just because they take place on Summoner's Rift and just because the champions are the same does not mean they're the same games. They have nothing. They are. I wish I could use chess and checkers, but I don't think that does it justice. It's like you play Super Smash Brothers Melee or you play King of Fighters. It's not like they're two different games. People don't think they're different games, but they are. They have different rules, they have different theories, they have different approaches. There's other stuff that has to be entertained, and there's more stuff that you can get away with in a lot of ways. And so because of that, I think it's detrimental to invest a lot of time into rank 5s, because then what ends up happening is you get set in ways that work in 5s, but it has nothing to do with solo queue, and then you also get a bunch of fucking idiots that they think that their gold teammates are supposed to know, you know, like, about all these random ass things. Now, it's okay if you expect some stuff out of, like, gold, platinum, you know, diamond teammates, that is acceptable to, you know, request out of them. But if you start doing really weird shit and they don't respond, well, it's not their fault. And it might not even actually be their fault. Your belief in what you're trying to do might actually just be completely wrong because it was formed, you know, in a gold 5 rank team. You know? Or something.
Yeah.
Playing without jungle pressure, low damage, charts, and stops. What do you mean?
Again, this is pertaining to that one. Well, I usually play it very defensively in lane.
But why?
And by that I mean I just, like, I'll be clearing waves and farming and hope, be strong for the team fights later on. What happens is I have spells, because I play so defensively, like, I'm just wondering if it's wrong to have that
Fuck. That's it. No, stop. Just. Why do you play? You're not at a point yet where you get to say things like I mean, you get to say it, but don't. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Because the other players, they're not even aware of what they're playing. You know what I mean? Like, the fucking, the Rift spawns and they're Ahri and they're like, huh, I thought I was Karthus. Like, they don't know what they're doing. And so because they don't know what they're doing, the fact that you have something that you are doing is weird when you're not even aware of it. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay. You playing defensive could be really wrong. And you can't argue why you're playing defensive. So, the fact that you're being defensive isn't actually you being defensive, it's just you being bad.
Your inhibitor is respawning.
Now, if you also said to me that you play aggressive, it's not you playing aggressive, because you can't argue why you're playing aggressive. It's just you being bad. Because you don't have enough of an understanding of all of this to make statements like that. Now, I get what you're saying, that you're trying to visualize it for me, in that you just sit back, you farm, and you wait for mistakes and stuff. You're never gonna improve that way. Okay, if you don't start stepping outside of your comfort zone. Now, you can improve that way if you step outside of your comfort zone in a lot of other areas and you just happen to sit back and farm and, you know, whatever. Because that is something I talk about a lot, you know, let people hang themselves. But that's more applicable to the mid-game rather than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think a lot of this would be solved if I watched you. Well, I think watching you play would be more beneficial than the questions, because it sounds like as much as we're talking theory-wise about stuff and whatever, it also sounds like you're more so visual than you are theory, right? Because you've already also stated that in the heat of battle, or, you know, while the game's going on, you don't really theorize or think about what's going on. It's sort of just subconscious, whatever.
Yes.
Let's finish this quickly.
So there's that. In which case, I now, you know, out of the 3 things that I listed above, rather than do the bronze thing, I would just actually put priority on the free coach thing. So you just go to lolcoaching.com and you find a free coach, and he'll sit with you, because you just want wants experience. Now, if the guy is absolutely retarded and he tells you that he has this really sick idea and he tells you to go time at Nunu top lane, you just block him on Skype. Like, that's all you have to do, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. All right.
But yeah. Okay, so easily successful in other games I played have the determination. Oh wait, easy comp season rank 5. I'm not even gonna answer. Well, I mean,
Right, okay.
I'll answer it if you want to, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, what is the point in saying easy comps to use rank 5s if you're not just gonna play professional? You know, like
I know,
you can look at
weren't gonna
LCS and
use
stuff.
them as, like at the potential they could have or whatever.
Right, because then you're just playing to have fun. And in which case, then why is the comps even being brought up? Because that doesn't make that is an argument against fun. Do you know what I mean? Because comps suggest that you're taking something somewhat serious. Well, if you're taking something somewhat serious anyway, why aren't you, if you're also trying to improve, not just using LCS, LCK, you know, whatever, team comps?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously don't just mimic them, because some team comps are specific for doing certain things.
Certain things, yeah. Okay.
Decently successful in other games I've played, I have a determination. Is everyone able to each? I don't believe so, no. And I know that there's a lot of people that would argue, well, depends what you call high-low. If your definition of high-low is, you know, Diamond 5 or Diamond 3 or something, yes. I don't think everyone can get Challenger. I also do not think that everyone can get Master Tier if you have plateaued at a much lower end. I do think if you're, you know, Diamond 4, Diamond 3, well, maybe not Diamond, but it depends on Diamond. I mean, it's going to be case-specific, obviously, and of course there's always going to be exceptions. There's always going to be the 1%. Just because I say that someone won't go pro doesn't mean that they never will. It just means that I would be, you know, more willing to bet my odds on hitting the Powerball than that occurred. So, with that being said, I do not personally think. Now, you're Platinum what?
Peak Platinum 3.
Peak Platinum 3. How long have you been playing?
Seriously, maybe since September of 2014.
September 2014? So about a year and 3 months?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Now, when you say playing, does that mean everything included? Like it means normal, like leveling up your account?
No, I started, like, as a joke in February of that same year, I guess.
Okay, so it's more like 2 years. In some
I
ways.
guess, yeah, sure.
Okay. Because the game's only gonna get harder. You gotta understand that, right?
I see that. Like, since I started playing, up to now, I have noticed that, at least anyway, goals anyway, do get harder and harder.
Okay. What is your definition of high elo?
Probably Master Challenger. Maybe Diamond 1.
I mean, if you keep playing for like 2 years and you keep playing 8 hours, I don't think that it's impossible to cheese your way into Master or something, unless there's a boom, which League could experience a boom in competitive play in some sense, like for solo queue. But if it doesn't happen, I don't think that there's not a reason that you can't play for 2 years and cheese your way in. But I don't think, and this is just in my opinion, that you would ever get Challenger. Just from the things that, you know, you mentioned about the difficulty and processing information and applying it after already being a year and a half. And that is your apparent big or largest issue that you have with League. So, that's but yeah. But yeah. I think you can go higher, but yeah. So there's that. So anyways, random question, why the post word in mid side lanes? What do you mean?
You know those two bushes at the side of the lane?
Okay,
Like, I've never understood why there's a pink there. It doesn't give that much vision.
Where? Where are we going?
Um,
Here?
like those two side brushes. No, to the top of that, like in the river. Yeah.
Don't cross me.
What do you mean?
Like I feel like a ward, like if you put it in the little brush thing in front of Baron, it gives just about the same vision, but it gives more information. I feel like if a jungler passes by and he goes to Scuttle Crab, for example, you can't exactly see him.
Okay, well, alright, so these wards are more so bait wards. And they're used early on. The longer the game goes, these don't exist. These exist within the first 3 recalls, usually, and then it starts becoming this, and this, and this. Right? And then obviously it's this. Okay. Now what these are for is, okay, so you have this ward. Alright. Now, let me get a jungler. Here's your jungler. Alright, so now, so we're gonna... Alright, so there's this jungler, and he's coming over here, he comes to gank you, so first, gank fails. Then, he sees this ward, and an exclamation point goes off above his head. You know, like you're playing fucking Metal Gear Solid. And he has to come back in and kill the ward. Well, during this time, let's say that your jungler is Lee Sin, and he was doing wolves, and he saw this happening. So first, he got notice that they were coming when he was here. They come to gank you, they fail. By this time, he's here. They come back in, and now Lee Sin's here. What happens?
Yeah, we can have some.
Okay, now let's say that Lee Sin wasn't even here. Let's say that you're here and you're Victor. What happens? You can poke him while he tries to get the pink.
Don't cross.
Okay, now let's say this jungler isn't even here. Let's say that, you know, your jungler's right here, and this guy tries to come and hit this. What happens? Okay, what happens if he walks in here, and then he tries to kite upwards, and your jungler comes out of here, and then you just keep walking straight. By the time he gets here, he gets AoE'd and stuff. You know what I mean? Like that.
So
these.
it's more of a yeah, I see what you mean.
It's much more of a control ward than it is a vision ward. Like there's multiple uses of it. You know, whereas it's much more difficult. Are you going to sleep? Okay, bye. Okay, so all right, and that's pretty much it for these type of wards. Does that make sense?
Because I just felt, yeah, I just felt that that ward wasn't exactly too useful, especially since junglers have in mid lane have so many places to gank from,
Yeah.
and you can't exactly see what's coming.
Well, this ward shuts down a lot of things. And then other gankers be shut down by reading accordingly. Because I mean, if you have this ward here, okay, and then you have a green ward here, like it's very difficult to actually get ganked if your reads are on spot. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Fair enough.
So, okay. 70 ping versus, it's a huge difference. It is. People
I
think...
was gonna ask what exactly can you do on 7 ping?
I mean, there's too many things to list. There's things that you can do with... I mean, I'll just list some things off the top of my head that I know of. There's Jace combos that you can do, below, well... Jace, I don't know the exact ping number that it is. I do remember that Mima, you know, back in MVP, White, you know, later Samsung, whatever, he was raging because they played on Garena and they had a 62 ping, 63 ping or something, and he couldn't execute Jace combos. There's other stuff. I mean, I was in NA. I had 36, 37 ping from the Gravity House. There was stuff I couldn't do on Pantheon and Ezreal that I know exists that I can do, you know, in Korea. There's stuff, you know, I played Tom Kench a little bit before I left NA, like, you know, once or twice. There's a lot of things with Tom Kench I cannot do on NA. Just, it will never happen. The 36 ping is too much for the inputs. You know, some animation cancels on his W, some animation cancels on his auto attack Qs, some combos with his third stack. You just can't do it. It's not possible. and I'm sure if you know, Riven probably is subject to it as well. Zed definitely, Katarina, no question. You know, like, it's so much, and people like to claim that it doesn't exist, you know, because they've clearly played in Korea, and, you know, they're professional players. It's huge. But does it matter at the end of the day? Technically, no, because there's other ways to still, you know, get a win. But it is an advantage. I made a tweet a little while ago that a certain LCS player managed to lose to Flaxius playing cross-server and 130 ping. That's a fucking embarrassment. I don't care what happened. It's embarrassing. It's not acceptable. I think, in all seriousness, if I was a coach from the team, you'd be benched. Because that's just not acceptable. 130 ping and you can't win a fucking lane when you have nope. It's just not acceptable. I think he has like 40 or something, and Flaxius has like 128 to like 140, and he lost. Nope. That's sad. But you don't really know the ping differential until